I never asked to be born, but from the moment I arrived, my parents, Donna and Dakota Billy, made it abundantly clear I wasn't part of their plan. As their second child, I lived in the shadow of my older sister, Ember, their golden child who received all their love and attention. Growing up in the Billy household meant experiencing two entirely different worlds, Ember's filled with warmth and celebration, mine with coldness and barely concealed resentment. My 9th birthday remains etched in my memory as a perfect example of this divide. I woke up that morning filled with hope that perhaps this year would be different. As I descended the stairs, heart racing with anticipation, I entered the kitchen only to find my parents engrossed in conversation with Ember about her upcoming dance recital. When I greeted them, Mom barely glanced up, directing me to find cereal in the cupboard before returning her attention to Ember. No birthday wishes. No special treatment. Nothing to acknowledge the day. Hours passed without mention until dinner, when Dad offhandedly mumbled birthday wishes without looking at me. Mom appeared surprised, claiming she thought my birthday was the following week. That night, I clutched the only birthday card I received from Grandma Raven, the sole person who seemed to care about me. Her message was simple yet powerful, telling me how special and loved I was. I read those words repeatedly, desperately wanting to believe them, grateful for Grandma's love while aching for my parents' acknowledgement. School only reinforced my outsider status. During parent-teacher conferences, I'd observe other children, with their proudly beaming parents while mine never attended. Mom would casually mention Ember's dance competitions as the reason, asking if I understood, and I would nod despite the deep pain of being consistently overlooked. The most devastating moments came when I overheard my parents discussing me. One night, I caught Dad wondering why I couldn't be more like Ember, with Mom agreeing and comparing our developmental milestones unfavorably. Their words sliced through me like knives, confirming that no matter my efforts, I would never measure up. As I grew older, I stopped trying to impress them. What was the point? I became withdrawn and quiet, keeping to myself. Only Grandma Raven truly saw and loved me for who I was. Visiting her cozy house felt like entering a different universe where I was safe, heard, and never compared to anyone else. At 14, I reached my breaking point. With tears streaming down my face, I asked Grandma if I could live with her. She immediately pulled me into a warm embrace, assuring me I would always have a home with her, and that one day everything she had would be mine. In that moment, wrapped in her arms, I felt a safety I'd rarely experienced. The inheritance meant nothing. All I craved was love and acceptance. My parents' reaction to my decision was predictably dismissive. Dad scoffed at Grandma's modest home and library job, questioning what she could possibly offer me. Mom merely shrugged, revealing obvious relief at being unburdened of me. Their indifference hurt, but confirmed I was making the right choice. Life with Grandma wasn't always easy financially. Money was tight with her working long hours at the library while I took small jobs to help. But none of that mattered because, for the first time, I belonged and felt loved. Grandma showed me I wasn't invisible, that I mattered, and that I was capable of far more than my parents ever believed. Under Grandma's nurturing care, I transformed. The quiet, shy girl began to fade as I discovered my potential. Grandma never missed a single school event, sitting proudly in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. At home, she displayed my artwork and school projects prominently, enthusiastically sharing stories of my accomplishments with every visitor. Her unwavering pride and support helped me blossom. I made friends, joined school clubs, and my grades improved dramatically, a testament to what a little love and encouragement could accomplish. Despite our financial struggles, Grandma ensured I never felt deprived, sometimes skipping her own meals so I could eat properly. Our little house may have been small and old, but it overflowed with warmth and love. We didn't have much, but it was enough. Life was finally improving until one autumn afternoon when Grandma returned from work with mixed emotions visible on her face. With a trembling voice, she informed me her sister Marilyn had unexpectedly passed away. I barely remembered Aunt Marilyn, a wealthy businesswoman who had long been estranged from the family. As I offered my condolences and held Grandma's hand, she revealed something astonishing. Marilyn had left her entire fortune to Grandma. We were now multimillionaires. News of Grandma's inheritance spread quickly, and unsurprisingly, my parents soon appeared at our door. They stood on the porch, with forced smiles and artificial tears, claiming they'd made a terrible mistake and wanted to correct their wrongs. Mom reached toward me with trembling hands, pleading for me to return home so they could be the family they should have been all along. Grandma gently assured me the decision was mine to make, and she would support whatever I chose. After days of consideration, I decided to give them a chance. Maybe they truly regretted their behavior. With Grandma's blessing, I packed my belongings and returned to the Billy house. Initially, it seemed like a dream realized. My parents became attentive and loving, attending my school events and cheering enthusiastically just as Grandma had. They gave thoughtful gifts that showed genuine interest in my hobbies, and we began having family game nights, something entirely new to our household. I'll never forget the first time Dad proudly called me his girl after I won at Monopoly, sending warmth spreading through my chest. Perhaps most surprising was bedtime, where Mom now tucked me in nightly, something I'd always longed for as a child. She would smooth my hair and kiss my forehead, whispering how much they loved me. Even Ember appeared transformed, including me in her plans, introducing me to her friends, and offering advice about boys and makeup. For the first time, I felt like her sister rather than her shadow. I wanted desperately to believe their transformation was genuine, that my family finally saw and appreciated me. Yet a small voice in the back of my mind questioned the timing. Why only after Grandma's newfound wealth? I tried silencing these doubts, convincing myself they had truly changed. During frequent calls with Grandma, I enthusiastically shared stories of my happiness, though she always gently reminded me I would always have a home with her regardless of circumstances. Life settled into a new pattern. Ember graduated high school with honors and departed for an expensive college, celebrated with an elaborate party featuring decorations, speeches, and catered food. Watching my parents beam with pride at her achievements resurrected old feelings of invisibility, making me wonder if things had really changed or if I was merely the backup now that their golden child had left. Meanwhile, Grandma's life improved dramatically. She moved into a beautiful house and retired from the library. At 18, I was thriving in school with close friends and had even started dating Coulson, a sweet boy from my chemistry class. Everything finally seemed to be falling into place. One Thursday evening, I spent hours preparing for a date with Coulson at the local diner. After waiting alone for some time, I received a message explaining something had come up and he couldn't make it. Disappointed, I headed home earlier than planned. As I quietly entered the house, voices from Dad's study caught my attention. I was about to announce my presence when Mom's frustrated tone stopped me cold. She complained about how exhausting it was pretending to love me, someone she never wanted in the first place. Frozen in place with my heart pounding painfully, I took out my phone and began recording. Dad's calculating voice explained they just needed patience. Once Grandma passed away, all her money would go to me, and they could convince me to share it with them. I felt physically ill as the truth crashed down on me. Every bedtime kiss, every proud smile, every kind word had been carefully calculated deception. Unable to listen further, I walked back to the front door, opened it loudly, and announced my return. My parents appeared instantly with what I now recognized as artificial smiles. They expressed false concern about my early return, and I managed a weak explanation about Coulson canceling. Their perfectly sympathetic responses now seemed transparent and hollow. That night, I lay awake replaying their conversation, each word cutting deeper with every iteration. By morning, I had made my decision. Once their cars left the driveway, I quickly packed clothes and precious keepsakes before leaving the house that had never truly been home. When I arrived at Grandma's doorstep with my bags, she immediately pulled me inside, asking what was wrong. Unable to contain my emotions any longer, I broke down in tears and played the recording. Grandma's expression shifted from shock to disbelief, and finally to a deep anger I'd never witnessed before. She pulled me into a tight embrace, assuring me we would give them a surprise they would never forget. By evening, my phone was buzzing, constantly with calls and messages from my parents and even Ember. Their pleas for me to return home, filled with apologies and explanations, held no power over me anymore. I had seen the truth and recognized their concern stemmed not from love, but fear of losing access to Grandma's fortune. After ignoring their attempts at contact for as long as possible, I finally answered and calmly invited them to Grandma's house the following day for a family conversation. The next evening, tension filled the air as they arrived with fabricated concern plastered across their faces. When Mom reached for me with a fake smile, I stepped back while Grandma firmly directed them to sit down. Without preamble, I placed my phone on the table and played the recording. Their voices, cold, calculating, and cruel, filled the room as they discussed manipulating me and waiting for Grandma to die to access her money. The color drained from their faces as they listened to their own words. In the deafening silence that followed, they scrambled to explain, their voices overlapping with excuses and apologies. Grandma silenced them with a raised hand before stating that she had genuinely believed they had changed and had even considered dividing her estate among all of us. Now, however, everything would go solely to me. As the reality of their situation dawned on them, their demeanor shifted from pleading to threatening. Dad angrily declared they had parental rights and would ensure Grandma never saw me again. Unmoved by their threats, I calmly announced my intention to file for emancipation with Grandma as my legal guardian. The shock on their faces revealed their complete inability to process how thoroughly their carefully orchestrated plan had backfired. Grandma firmly instructed them to leave, and they departed in defeat. As the door closed behind them, I released a breath I hadn't realized I was holding, and Grandma pulled me into a warm embrace. For the first time in days, I felt the weight lifting from my shoulders. The weeks that followed involved numerous legal meetings and court appearances. Grandma hired excellent lawyers to facilitate my emancipation and transfer guardianship to her. My parents fought harder than I expected to maintain control over me and, by extension, access to Grandma's fortune. Our legal team built a compelling case based on years of neglect and emotional abuse, with the recorded conversation serving as definitive evidence. The court proceedings revealed even more than I had anticipated. Teachers testified about my parents' neglect, including Mrs. Jare, my third-grade teacher, who recalled when I won the school spelling bee but had no family present to celebrate my achievement. Neighbors like Mr. Ellis described the stark contrast between Ember's extravagant birthday parties and my completely uncelebrated ones. The most shocking testimony came from Ember herself, who revealed she had knowingly participated in our parents' scheme to use me for accessing Grandma's money. The sudden kindness and sisterly bonding had been calculated parts of their deception. Her words destroyed any lingering hope of salvaging my family relationships. The judge's decision came swiftly. Grandma received full guardianship, and I was legally emancipated from Dan and Dakota Billy. As we left the courthouse, I experienced a complex mixture of emotions, relief, sadness, and profound freedom. Grandma assured me I was safe now, and, though I couldn't speak through the lump in my throat, I knew this wasn't just an ending, but a new beginning. The mansion I now shared with Grandma became a true sanctuary where I could heal and grow. She provided every opportunity for success, but more important than material comforts was her constant love and encouragement. With her support, I focused on my studies with renewed purpose, building a future on my own terms rather than trying to prove my worth to indifferent parents. Together, Grandma and I embarked on adventures I had never dared imagine, exploring architecture in England, discovering a passion for wildlife photography on an African safari. Each experience revealed new aspects of myself and possibilities I had never envisioned. The most significant healing, however, happened during my therapy sessions with Dr. Harper, where I learned to process my anger and grief over the family I should have had. As my high school graduation approached, I reflected on my difficult journey, the family I had lost, the challenges I had overcome, and the strength I had gained. While my biological family was now merely characters in a painful chapter of my past, losing them had given me something far more valuable: self-respect, inner strength, and the unconditional love of a grandmother who had been more of a parent than my biological parents ever were. The night before graduation, as Grandma and I watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, she expressed her pride in my resilience and growth. When I thanked her for saving me, she gently corrected me. I had saved myself. She had merely provided a safe place for me to do so. Standing on stage the next day to accept my diploma, hearing Grandma's cheers above everyone else's, a profound peace washed over me. The pain of my past no longer defined me. Instead, I felt excitement for the bright future ahead. I had lost the family I was born into, but gained something infinitely more precious: the freedom to become who I was always meant to be. Knowing that whatever came next, I wouldn't face it alone.